Hey guys, I'm Jim, WT1W, and you're watching FEP Labs Radio. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. So today I want to share with you something I bought 3 or 4 years ago when I started out in my ham journey, and that's something called an antenna pre-selector. And the particular model I have is a MFJ 1040C, a 1040 Charlie. And what this device does is allows you to tweak the Q value of your antenna system. It's not an amplifier. It doesn't make your signals stronger, and it won't make a terrible antenna great, but it can actually help out in a lot of situations. This is a variable device, and we're going to take a close-up look at it. Stick around. Okay, if we take a look at MFJ's webpage, you'll notice that they have over here several models of antenna pre-selector, and this is the particular one we're looking at today. And this retails for $149.95. This is not a sponsored video. MFJ did not send me one. I purchased this with my own money several years ago. And this is a close-up of it. This is pretty much the exact model I have. This covers from 160 meters all the way up to 6 meters. And it rejects out-of-band signals and images. That's exactly what it does. It does have 20 dB gain, supposedly. I've not seen that in my testing, but admittedly, I have not been using this thing in several years, and I didn't see 20 dB of gain on the Spectrum Analyzer, which we'll look at in a minute. You could set this for what would cover the 20 meter band, for example, and then do the fine tuning to move that pass band where your actual signal is going to be. And then, of course, you have a skirt around that with 3 dB on either side that is your bandwidth. So you may have a antenna with a fairly wide bandwidth, but what this does is that effectively narrows that bandwidth of that antenna down for you, right? It raises the Q of the antenna. And this is the model I have. You can see here that they have other models. I'm not going to go through all of these. I don't know if these are better or worse. They're about the same price, it looks like. So let's take a close-up look on camera here of our pre-selector. Okay, this is the MFJ 1040 pre-selector, and for scale, this is my Denko 5.5 amp hour battery, so it's about the same size. I'd call this about 7 by 3 by 4, something like that. And on the front of it, you can see here that we have our gain knob, our main band select, our fine tuning, attenuator on or off. This also will control 2 antennas, so you can select which radio and which antenna you want to use with the pre-selector. So 2 antennas, 2 radios. Kind of neat. You can use it as a radio antenna crossover switch. I don't know how much isolation there is between the two. I know that at one point I used this with a Yaesu FT991A and an ICOM 7300 and never had any problem, so your mileage may vary. And then, of course, power. This is a powered device. It is not passive. You've got to turn it on. It requires the electrics to work. If you look here on the back of this guy, you can see our power input. This is our PTT relay. So when you key up, this will go out of circuit and you're not transmitting through it. 2 radios, 2 antennas, and you don't have to use both. But if you do, you can have a combination of 2 different radios and 2 different antennas at the same time. And that's pretty much it. There's not much to this box. Okay, so the basic function of a pre-selector is a bandpass filter. That's what it is. What this does for you is gives you an adjustable bandpass filter because it lets you move the pass band of the signal that you're trying to tweak to where it needs to be. And that gives you some sort of passband filter that basically blocks out everything that you're not interested in seeing. This particular device has about a 450, 470 kilohertz difference between the downside and the upside of the filter. So it gives you that much bandwidth. At the frequency I tested it at, what I saw was about 0.46 megahertz difference between the upper and lower side of the filter. By adjusting this knob here, we can change the course adjustments on this and what bands it's good for. Now there's a little bit of overlap and it's not super critical. If you have this, for example, on the 3 to 7 megahertz band and you can't get it to work, move it to the 7 to 18 and you'll probably catch it. So there's a little bit of overlap. This is a a coarse adjustment. This is the fine adjustment within the band you're interested in. What I have witnessed with this particular adjustment is that this thing is extremely twitchy. This much rotation probably moves you from the complete edge based on the gross band settings. So be aware of that when you're using something like this. All right, so it will help any receiver or transmitter or antenna system because it tightens that front end up. It reduces the chance that the OVF light would come on, and it lets you tune your antenna to have a narrower bandwidth, and you center that on the operating frequency you're interested in. And at field day, for example, this would be something that would be pretty useful, right? It will not make a crappy antenna into a great antenna. It will help you reduce some noise around it. It will reduce the possibility of front end overload. Like I said, at field day, this is something I think would be useful in your kit. One of the downsides of something like this, there will be some insertion loss when you put this in line. Hopefully, the insertion loss is going to be very minimal, and being able to tune where you're listening will probably offset what little insertion loss you get, especially in a case where you have a lot of RF overload, a nearby AM station, for example, something like that. This works well with dipoles. This works well with vertical antennas. This is not going to work very well with something with a super narrow Q, like a magnetic loop style antenna. Because the Q on the mag loop antenna is already super tight, this isn't going to really do anything for you because of that super narrow Q. But any antenna with a wider bandwidth, this will allow you to narrow that Q on the antenna to help reject outside frequencies. Let's jump into looking at this on the spectrum analyzer. We're going to pump a signal out of the tracking generator through the pre-selector, and we'll look at it on the SA and see what it looks like and how that passband will move as we adjust the knobs on this guy. All right, we've got our test setup rigged up here. Let me run through this real quick. Obviously on the screen, we have the Rigol software. This is hooked up to our spectrum analyzer, which is right down here in the corner. Here in the corner is our Preselector, the MFJ 1040C. And of course, this is powered by 12 volts is how this works. And this is connected to our battery pack. You might notice this is a Denko battery. Built this in the last three videos. Great little battery pack for keeping on your desk for test. Here's our Preselector, and I've got this set up beforehand so I don't have to dink around with moving settings and everything in the software while we're looking at it. But you can see here what we've got done. We have 3 markers. The blue marker in the top center is our primary frequency, so to speak. And then 2 and 3 are on either side, left and right respectively. And that is roughly 3 dB down from our primary frequency on this thing. So if you remember from previous videos, I've said this, and this is a common thing with filters of any kind, the roll-off is considered right around 3 dB. So whenever you hit that 3 dB mark, that is the filter's bandwidth on either side. Looking at our values here, you can see that number 1, our center, is 14.279. These are arbitrary values. I just picked something in the 20 meter band for test purposes. Our signal is coming out of the spectrum analyzer through the tracking generator down here, and then it runs through the Preselector and then out to the input of the actual spectrum analyzer. So our primary frequency set off of the SA is 14.279 megahertz. And then our 3 dB roll-off on the left side here is at 14.04, and that's roughly 3 dB down. These numbers are not exact, they're close. And then on the upside, we're at 14.502. So the bandwidth of this filter would be the difference between these two values. So 14.502 minus 14.041 is going to be about 460 kilohertz is going to be about the difference. Now, this is where I have the markers set up So this could vary a little bit either way. And again, it's not exactly on 3 dB. It's close enough for test purposes. But you can see what we've got set here. Now, if you remember the settings on the Preselector that we talked about before, and I'm going to try and hold this so you can see it. If you watch, as I move the gain knob, that's going to change our signal. And this varies a lot depending on where you are on the band. Then we have the actual band select, and this is like a course adjustment for this device. So if I change it off the 7 to 18, it's going to change our value completely because it's moved down several megahertz, and that drops us in the band. The tune is a fine tune. And on this particular Preselector, this rascal is super sensitive. So it doesn't take a lot to change where that peak is. And in the directions for using one of these things, basically you find a signal that you're interested in, tune until you have the loudest audio volume you hear. And what that's done is that centered this band pass, that pass band, excuse me, on that particular frequency. So you are maximizing what you receive from that frequency, and then you are minimizing everything on either side of the particular pass band. As I mentioned, this is basically a variable band pass filter is what this thing is doing. You can see here, if I push the attenuator, we get about 3 to 4 dB of attenuation. And then the gain on this one, and I have seen some inconsistent results with this gain knob. The gain is turned all the way down. So watch this value over here. This is our primary frequency. Minus 12.873 is the value in dBm. 14,279 is the frequency. And as I roll the gain up, we're actually losing some signal. And then it comes back up. And that's maxed out. So I think this is particularly frequency dependent. I'm not entirely sure what I see with that because it seems to be a little inconsistent to me with the gain. The last thing I want to show you is, of course, we can move this. So I've got these markers set for these particular values, and they're not going to track. But what happens if I move the tuning knob, you'll see that our peak moves as I move the tuning knob. And this thing is super twitchy, very tight. It does not take a lot of motion to move from one band to the other within that range that's on the main band knob. So you can see we can move that peak. And what to me is interesting, if you'll notice where it is now, this guy, let's move our marker, that's now at 11.4 megahertz. So quite a lot of difference with very little rotation of that knob. I'm going to drop him roughly over there. So that's interesting. This thing, like I said, super twitchy. And I mean, I haven't even moved this a half of rotation of this knob, and we are completely off the scale now. And we're currently showing, we're centered on 14 megahertz. We're stopping at 18, and we're starting at 9.81. So the screen is showing you a range of 9.81 megahertz all the way up to 18.1 megahertz. So from slightly above 40 to around 17 meters. And as we move that knob, then we bring that back in, and of course I can line it back up with our markers. So if I had a complaint about this, I think the controls could be set a little better. That's pretty close. The controls could be set a little better so they're not quite as twitchy. Maybe a super fine adjustment on this. This seems more like a medium adjustment. This is our coarse. We need a fine control. And for an audio signal that's 3 kilohertz wide, it's probably fine, but to me it seems awful sensitive. All right, guys, that covers what I wanted to share with you today. That is the MFJ 1040C Preselector device. Where you would see a good use for this, obviously, is going to be with something like an SDR or possibly on field day. But on field day, this thing would be great because you could set this on your rig and tighten that up so that it's where you are broadcasting and you've got that about 400 kilohertz filter around your signal, and hopefully block everybody else out where they're not interfering with you, instead of carrying a dedicated bandpass filter. There's probably better bandpass filters out there that have tighter, steeper skirts, but this is not a bad deal, and it covers pretty much the entire HF band. Again, the limitation is only a couple 100 watts, but it is cool. You can transmit through it, as I've mentioned. Guys, that's all I've got for this video. Hope you got something out of that. If you would, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring the bell. All that stuff is down below, so you get notified whenever I post any new content. There's a video posted above over here that you may enjoy seeing. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. 73.